morning. This is the way to a wonderful life. Please know with me now, right now, there is a power within you. It is the Christ within you, and it can lift your life to its highest level. It can change illness into health. It can bring peace amidst turmoil. It can bring success out of failure and victory out of defeat. It can bring companionship and happiness out of loneliness. It responds to you, for this is the power that dwells within you, and so it is. Amen. Thank you for joining me today for The Way to a Wonderful Life. I am Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates, coming to you live this morning from Palm Springs, California, teaching from the philosophy of the Mastermind Jesus and the wisdom of the ancients found in the evolutionary science of mind. This program is not pre-recorded, nor is it edited. It is live. For more information about this ministry, please visit www.revbates.tv or www.revbatesontheradio.org. You can also find me on youtube.com by going to youtube.com and putting in the search box The Way to a Wonderful Life channel. That's The Way to a Wonderful Life channel, and you'll find over 80 of my radio broadcasts that you can listen to 24/7 in both English and Spanish. You can also go to MSN, Yahoo, Bing, and Google and put in the search box Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, and you'll find everything you want to find out about this ministry. This is a healing and teaching ministry where we go beyond religion and we focus on those simple yet profound healing principles given to us by the Mastermind Jesus so that we can believe in our prayer and the answer to it. For we believe and we know that God responds to us by corresponding to our faith and a belief that with God, all good things are possible. With God, all good things are possible. Now, you can send me your prayer requests, your questions, your comments about this program, and you can also send a faith offering in support of this radio ministry, and you can do that from the website revbates.tv or revbatesontheradio.org using your ATM card, your credit card, or your checking account with the PayPal secure payment system, or you can send those prayer requests, questions, comments, and faith offerings to Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, P.O. Box 1173, P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. And you can also leave me a message in the Los Angeles area at 818-476-0088 or in Palm Springs at 760-778-5677. Once again, this is The Way to a Wonderful Life, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. This program is not pre-recorded, nor is it edited. It is live. And today I want to wish everyone a happy and safe Labor Day weekend. It's Labor Day in both the USA and Canada. And so I have some words here from the great Dr. Robert Bitzer, who founded the church on Sunset Boulevard. And he had the great consciousness of success and prosperity. And this is from his book, Collected Essays, and it's something that each of us should think about as we go through this thinking about what our jobs are, what our labor is, our talents are, what our skills and abilities are, and how we use them this Labor Day weekend. He writes, keep faith with your secret desires. Your dreams, your aspirations, your hopes are meaningful and important. They must see the light of day. They must see the light of day. Believe in your unseen ability and develop your hidden talents. Make your dreams come true. Your major decision, your life's work or profession, should dominate your thinking, and rightly so. Subconscious law works relentlessly to achieve this. You are endowed with a divine something. If the power depends upon personal possessions, then fear might come in, but principle makes you realize that your own comes to you because you recognize it and claim it, because you recognize it and claim it. And that's from the great Dr. Robert Bitzer from his book, Collected Essays, and he founded the Hollywood Church of religious science on Sunset Boulevard and paid off that church, paid off the mortgage on that church within 8 years. So once again, I want to wish all of you a happy and safe Labor Day weekend. Have some fun. Keep it safe, but have some fun. This is The Way to a Wonderful Life once again, and our Wonderful Life message for today is titled, And Wonderful Things Shall Follow, and Wonderful Things Shall Follow. So I have some words here from the Gospels of Luke and Matthew, and we're going to start out with Luke 10:5. Jesus is sending his disciples out so that they can go and spread the gospel, spread the good news. And he tells them, when you enter a house, first say, peace to this house. Peace to this house. As someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. Stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. For the worker deserves his wages. And from the Gospel of Matthew we read, for whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that which he has, even that which he has. Now, at first glance, it might not be so apparent how these two passages in the Gospels of Luke and Matthew foster a more prosperous and wonderful life. Yet as we look to the spiritual principles inherent within them, we can see that each directs us to just that. We must realize that God, Infinite Spirit, works through a universal law of good for all, and no one can benefit at the expense of another. No one can benefit at the expense of another. And because of the action of these two spiritual principles, many people do not succeed and many businesses fail. Yet, because of the action of these two spiritual principles, many people achieve great success and many businesses prosper abundantly. Why? Because the law will work in the way that we use it. It will either work to negate our good or it will work to increase and prosper us. It's up to us. It's up to those decisions that we make in our mind, as Dr. Bitzer wrote in those statements from his collected essays. It's up to us to make our dreams come true. It's up to us to know that there is a principle that if we put in the affirmation of good and prosperity and success into our mind and establish it as our truth, that which we believe to be true for us shall come true, shall be true, shall manifest itself in the right and perfect way and in the right and perfect time. Now, when the mastermind Jesus stated, I of mine own self can do nothing, it is the Father that doeth the works, he's talking about the principle, the same principle that Dr. Bitzer wrote about when Dr. Bitzer said that principle makes you realize that your own comes to you because you recognize it and claim it. When Jesus said, ask and it shall be given, in the Aramaic language of Jesus, ask means to claim your good. When Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing, it is the Father that doeth the works, he's saying the same thing. He was speaking of the dominant spiritual principle at work in all things. And in this understanding that when we align our thoughts and activities with this universal spiritual power, we shall have more, be more, and do more than those who don't. We shall have more, be more, and do more than those who don't align themselves with the nature of the law of good. When we align our thoughts consciously with these principles, we may find that our state of mind or our attitude towards our work or towards those we employ does not fit the criterion necessary to be in tune with the principle involved. So this requires not only a mental and emotional adjustment, but a spiritual one as well. We must go back into our mind, say, what is it that I truly believe? What is it that I truly accept as true? Because so often, when we're affirming a greater good, when we're affirming an increase, when we're affirming prosperity, when we're affirming that the work that we do becomes a greater work, a more benefit to those that we work for, or more benefit to those we sell to, or more benefit to those out in the world who seek to receive our goods and services and talents and abilities, all this negative stuff will start showing up. We know that in order to replace a false belief or a negative thought or a negative belief, that we must replace it with that which is affirmative, that which is of the Spirit. But so often when we try to replace it, it just starts fighting its way up into our mind, just like it's almost like they could say, what in the devil is going on? What in the devil is going on? We know it's not a devil, but we know it's that thing in our mind that used to be true for us. We used to believe in it, but we no longer do, and we have dropped it from our mind. So when it reaches its ugly head up into our mind again with the thoughts of negativity and the thoughts of lack and limitation and the thoughts of failure, we must drop it again, but this time drop it on its head. Whenever we feel that feeling within us that what it is that we believe to be true, and we start feeling the joy of having it, the joy of being it, the joy of doing it, the joy of knowing that the increase is ours to behold in our experience, then we start understanding that we have replaced the old stuff, the old garbage thinking with the new stuff. As Jesus said, we can't pat new wine into old wineskins. We must replace the old with the new. We must let our mind be free and clear to accept our destination of being an achiever and accomplishing those things that we dream about, those things that we aspire to have, those secret desires of our heart. Now let's go to some words here from the great Dr. Eric Butterworth, and this is from his book, Spiritual Economics. Now this is all about the laborer is worthy of their hire and the laborer is worthy of their wages, and let's just realize it's Labor Day and we've got some principles that go with this holiday that will prosper us all and bless us all and heal some of that old negative stuff in our mind that we accepted before as the truth that we no longer do. Whenever you are faced with a knotty financial dilemma, Eric Butterworth writes, you always have a clear choice of how you will deal with it. If you brood over the letdown, the disappointment in a job, or some complete collapse of financial involvement, you simply magnify it out of all proportion. It is like taking a pebble off the beach and holding it close to your eyes. It may be a small stone, but held close enough it can completely screen your view. Hold it at the proper viewing distance, and it can be examined and properly dealt with. Drop it at your feet, and it can become a part of a stone path. The psalmist says in Psalm 8:6 of the King James Version of the Bible, thou hast put all things under humankind's feet. Thou hast put all things under humankind's feet. The loss of a job or the failure of some important financial project, Eric Butterworth writes, held too closely in consciousness may appear to be the end of everything. As one man said when he was passed over for promotion to a higher position, my life is over, I just can't go on. And because he allowed this experience to obscure all else, he brooded for months and became so lethargic in his work, that means lazy, that he was nearly lost the position he did have. Fortunately, in time, he came to his senses, realizing that by reason of his immature reaction, he proved his unworthiness for the greater responsibility. Life did go on, and later he was picked for a higher post, much more suited to his creative abilities, so it proved to be a growth experience. That's from Eric Butterworth in his book, Spiritual Economics. Our life experiences are always revealing to us a better way, but we must be open to it. But we don't always have the awareness that this is so, and so we must give ourselves the opportunity to contemplate and to be receptive to the Spirit so that we do have that greater awareness. The one thing that sticks in my mind from the writings of Wallace D. Wattles, who wrote the classic 1910 book, The Science of Getting Rich, is the simplicity of spiritual principles. Our relationship to life is one of simplicity, but too often we make it complex and we make it a burden. It is not. Life is simple when we maintain the attitude that life is good, all the time and perceive the conditions and experiences that we find ourselves in from this higher truth. And the spirit of life is good all the time. We must always look first for the good that we can do and act on it. And in doing so, we will realize a greater good automatically. And sometimes that good that we can act on is simply to pray, an affirmative prayer, to recognize that God is available, that God is present, that in this realm of spirit in which we live and move and have our being, that God is right here where we are, and that image likeness of God within us, we can bring it alive and we can wake it up, and we can know that the Christ within me shall strengthen me, shall guide me, direct me, shall lift me up into a higher realm of belief and a higher level of consciousness of knowing that prosperity and success are mine, health and happiness are mine. We can do that at any moment in time. And sometimes we just allow ourselves to become what the world calls a victim because we just don't take the time to pray effectively. We just don't take the time to speak up and stand up into our word of truth and let that truth be made manifest in our life experience. You know, someone told me recently about an incident that they witnessed that was confusing and a misuse of the law of good. This person was in a healthcare facility that employs many people at low wages. One of the employees, a young woman, a single mother supporting herself and 2 small children on a modest income of just a slight increase over minimum wage. The young woman is responsible and hardworking, even though the job barely pays her enough to sustain her and her small family. One day, close to her payday, she found herself short of money and needed $5 to buy gas for her car so that she could get to work the next day. Now, how many people out there have ever found themselves short of money? I think most people have at some time. If we haven't found ourselves short of $5, we may have found ourselves short of the $5 million that we want to buy that house in Beverly Hills with, or that house in Bel Air with. But we've all understood how that limitation, that shortness of money, that shortness of prosperity, that symbol of lack that we find in our mind and in our experience, we know how it feels when it shows up. She asked one of her fellow employees if they could loan her the money until she received her paycheck in a few days. The fellow employee declined to loan her the money, and a supervisor who happened to overhear the conversation had her called into the Human Resources Department, and she was reprimanded for seeking a loan from a fellow employee. However, neither the supervisor nor the human resources person offered her any assistance other than either from themselves or from the company, only a threat. So here we go. The laborer is worthy of his hire. The worker is worthy of his wages, Jesus said. But part of that laborer is worthy of his hire, and that worker is worthy of his wages, is not only the money that we receive from those who employ us, or not only the money that we receive from our businesses, but it's the dignity and the ethics in which we do that business, in which we treat our employees, and in the way in which we treat each other. Because there's a law of God that says, as you sow, so shall you reap, and what you do to anyone, you're in effect doing it to yourself. You're doing it to yourself. Just as Jesus said, when you go into a house, bless the house with peace. Peace to this house, and if someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. So if these women, or these people, I should say, it could be men, could be women, could be whatever, if this supervisor and this human resources person had treated this woman with dignity, the dignity would come back to them. If they had given her the $5 would come back to them multiplied abundantly. abundantly. But they gave her a threat, and that threat will come back to those women in that business just as much as that $5 would have come back as a great prosperity. The person who told me of this incident said that the young woman was so afraid of losing her job. Can you imagine going around being so afraid of losing your job and not knowing if you have money to get the gas, to get to work the next day, and you're raising your two children on your own? This is a situation where the love of God, the joy of God, the happiness and the peace of God and someone's soul was totally covered up, was totally dismissed. And so the people were dismissing it in favor of some rule that the company probably had in place, and that rule they felt had to be obeyed above anything of a spiritual nature, anything of a loving nature. And so we have this mess and this drama going on in this healthcare facility where people come to receive something positive and receive support and care for themselves, not to be around drama. The person who told me of this incident said that the young woman was so afraid of losing her job that she burst into tears, and this person gave her the money, telling her that someday she could pay it forward and help someone else. This telling her to pay it forward not only tapped into the spiritual principle of give and be given to, but also offered this young woman the confidence that she would someday be in a position to have enough to share and to spare herself. And what was the action that was caused by the supervisor and the human resources person? It was a negation of the good both for themselves and the company they worked for. It is unlikely that neither the supervisor, the human resources person, or the company did not have $5 to give to this young woman. I am certain they did, and what a mess was created from this of spiritual drama. But their refusal to give when the opportunity to give was presented to them will find its objective outcome somewhere within the activity of their lives and the company's bottom line. Something will happen and they'll say, oh, why me? Or the company will start losing money and say, oh, why me? And am I saying that because of this one incident? Of course not. This incident is but an example of consciousness. I'm sure this is repeated over and over in their minds, that this attitude towards their employees, this attitude of making them follow rules, even when the rules diminish the good. I mean, if the woman can't get to work the next day, that means they're going to have one less person doing the work, one less person being productive for $5. For $5, they decided that the $5 was more important than a day's work, or the peace and the dignity and the respect that could have flowed through the three of them. That respect could have flowed through the company. That respect could have flowed through all the people around this young woman when she felt this respect and dignity was offered to her along with that $5, but it didn't happen. So the negative aspect will find its objective outcome somewhere within the activity of the lives of the people involved and the company's bottom line. This is a simple yet automatic correspondent of a universal principle: as you sow, so shall you reap, and there are no exceptions to the law, none. As Jesus said, before you go into the house, peace to this house. Bless the house. Say peace to this house. If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. And so, in other words, when this human resources manager and this supervisor did not offer the woman dignity and did not offer her respect and did not offer her compassion, it must return to her, and therefore they will not receive it in some way, shape, or form. Too often people who have fail to realize that their having was caused by the good that they did, along with the action of spiritual law through the activities of not only themselves, but all those who were a part of their experience. And when they find themselves confronting negative results in their unconscious awareness of the action of the law and its universal nature, they don't have a slightest idea, because the ego that wants to say, I did it by myself, the ego that wants to say, I I built it, rather than give credit to all the people that helped do it, all the things that had to come into play to make it possible, that ego is edging God out. And as we edge God out, we edge the good out with it. We edge the good out with God. So let's not let that happen in our mind. Let's not let that happen in our belief system. Let's not let that happen, and let's keep faith with the good. Without the action of spiritual law, nothing that we do can bring a fuller, richer advancement into our life experience. Absolutely nothing. We must go back and we must understand and we must establish in our mind, I of mine own self can do nothing, Jesus said. And if Jesus could say that I of mine own self could do nothing, how many of us could say that we can do something without God, without the spiritual power, the spiritual presence, and the spiritual intelligence that God is? How can we live this life if God doesn't beat our heart, see through our eyes, hear through our ears, and speak through our lips? This living Spirit of God reigns supreme as the only power, as all power, and there is none other. And so we must declare within ourselves and realize it's the truth for us and for everyone, everywhere, and for all ways, that I of mine own self can do nothing. And let's start showing dignity and respect for all those in our realm of experience that brought us the success and prosperity, the joy, the happiness, the health, the ease of life. Respect and show the dignity and feel the gratitude for all those who have held us in their dignity and their respect, and saw us as being successful and prosperous, and affirm that we were too, through their work and through their actions. The laborer is worthy of his hire, and the laborer is worthy of their dignity, worthy of compassion, worthy of respect, and worthy of ethical behavior. Wealth given away for the greater good, whether it's $5, $5,000, or $500, or 5 cents, even when it does not impact the individual's personal level of comfort, follows a spiritual principle that even the most hard-nosed vulture capitalist admires at some level of their soul. As we keep our mind consciously on the good and accept the law of God as the law of our life by our conscious awareness of spiritual principles taught by the mastermind Jesus and all the great spiritual teachers from the Bible and beyond, wonderful things shall follow. Wonderful things shall follow. Once again, I want to follow this up with those words from the great Dr. Robert Bitzer. This is Labor Day. I want to wish all of you a safe and fun Labor Day. Enjoy the Labor Day in the USA and Labor Day in Canada, and just feel the acknowledgement within your own heart, your own mind, and your own soul that God has given you talents and abilities, skills, and creative essence of whatever it is of the Spirit that will bring you into a greater feeling of success and prosperity in all that you do, as you realize that you're always working in the Spirit, that the Spirit of God moves through you, as you, and for you, if you just let your mind be open and receptive to it, and realize that I of mine own self can do nothing, that it is the Father that doeth the work, and let God do God's perfect work through us, as us, and for us, and get our bloated nothingness out of the way, as Emerson would say. And that bloated nothingness, those old beliefs and lack and limitation, those old beliefs and feeling that somehow we're limited, somehow there's a limitation set on us. We can unset that limitation. We can reset the barometer of our health, our wealth, our joy, our happiness, our love, by just establishing within our mind that I of mine own self can do nothing, and I give God. I let God reign supreme in my life, and I turn God loose. And when I turn God loose in my mind, I establish a greater good, a more wonderful good, a joyful good, and a healthy good right now, right where I am. Once again, as I said, we're going to go to those words of Dr. Robert Bitzer before I get carried away here, and Johnny Morris just turns me right off. So let's read from Dr. Bitzer's collected essays. Keep faith with your secret desires, your dreams, your aspirations. Your hopes are meaningful and important. They must see the light of day. Believe in your unseen ability and develop your hidden talents. Make your dreams come true. Your major decision, your life's work or profession should dominate your thinking, and rightly so. subconscious law works relentlessly to achieve this. You are endowed with a divine something. If the power depends upon personal possessions, then fear might come in, but principle, I of mine own self can do nothing, and as I sow, so shall I reap. Principle makes you realize that your own comes to you because you recognize it and claim it, and so it is. Amen. Once again, I want to thank you for being with me today. It's been my great pleasure to have you, and I hope you join me for my next broadcast right here on KTYM AM 1460 radio and at www.ktym.com worldwide this coming Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. in the Midwest, and 10 p.m. on the East Coast. Once again, this has been The Way to a Wonderful Life, coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. I am Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates, and I've been teaching the philosophy of the Mastermind Jesus and the wisdom of the ancients found in the evolutionary science of mind. This program was not pre-recorded, nor was it edited. It is live. For more information about this ministry, please visit www.revbates.tv or www.revbatesontheradio.org, and you can also find me on YouTube.com by going to YouTube.com and putting in the search box The Way to a Wonderful Life channel. That's The Way to a Wonderful Life channel, where you'll find over 80 of my radio broadcasts that you can listen to 24/7 in both English and Spanish. You can also go to MSN, Yahoo, Bing, and Google and put in the search box Reverend Henry Bates, and you'll find everything you want to find out about this ministry. Now, you can send me your prayer requests, your questions, your comments about this program, and you can send a faith offering in support of this radio ministry, and you can do that from the website revbates.tv or revbatesontheradio.org, or you can mail those to Reverend Henry Bates, that's B-A-T-E-S, P.O. Box 1173, Palm Springs, California, 92263. Once again, this is Reverend Dr. Henry Lee Bates affirming that God is blessing us right now, right where we are. And until Wednesday evening, 7 p.m., and Sunday morning next week at 7:30 a.m. Keep the faith. Keep the faith with God. Keep the faith with the good. Keep the faith with all things that come into your mind that make you feel healed, prospered, and blessed. For you know that the presence of God is always right where you are. As Dr. O.C. Smith would say, there is no spot where God is not.